Saints fans and Who Dats from all over the world, it's time for the Who Dat Confessional, y'all. With hosts Rev and Brian, right here on the Saints News Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to Who Dat Confessional, our relaunching our inaugural night, if you will. It's going to be me, Bryan Bienemy, and whoever out there is wanting to join us because we certainly have a lot to talk about. Brian, it sounds like you're on the line already. That you, man?
Yes, I am.
All right, so how's the first week in the NFL treating you right now?
Very confused right now. If I was a drinking man, I'd probably have a fifth of vodka with me right about now.
Yeah, it's been a crazy one. Games like Sunday, you know, when you lose, I can't be too upset. I mean, honestly, I felt the Saints came out much better than I expected them to do this year, but still, it's a heartbreaking loss. And then today, has today been a crazy one in Saints news?
It's really, over the past, I would say, 24 hours or so, been about as confusing, depressing, and really leaving a lot of feelings of anxiety among the Who Dat Nation and, you know, anybody else that really follows football, because you have a guy with the news today that C.J. Spiller has now been released by the Saints. And prior to 24 hours before that, it was the news that Delvin Breaux, star cornerback, would be missing 6 weeks of the season with a broken fibula. It's really just a crazy turn of events for a team that, okay, the game was close, as you alluded to, but it's really just a crazy turn of events for a team that had promise, and it just seems like it's dwindling little by little.
Yeah, it's definitely easy to say. Now, let me just say this, just to be the optimism in this conversation so far. We did get rid of C.J. Spiller, yeah, but we also almost beat the Raiders, who are my pick for the AFC West title. And even though we lost Breaux, both him and Spiller either didn't play at all or played very little during the entire game. Now, obviously, Breaux was huge in that first half, you know, instrumental to really stopping that passing game by Oakland. But I think there's still positive to take from there. I mean, we literally lost on the leg of a rookie kicker who wasn't ready to make a 61-yarder. There's definitely things we could have done better. There's time management that coach could have done better and you know, actually give us some timeouts at the end of the fourth quarter. But I still holding out hope. You know, I guess I have to. I can't, you know, have the ship burning down in week one, but it's tough when news like today comes out. And, you know, this was supposed to be a guy in C.J. Spiller who was going to spearhead the resurgence of the 2011 and 2009 style offenses for the Saints. And we didn't see any of that. He played like, 200-something snaps and got $9 million, and we got nothing out of him.
You know, I hate to be the bearer of the doom and gloom, because I do appreciate the positivity, and I agree with you. I mean, by all accounts, the Oakland Raiders didn't win that game. The Saints gave it to them. The problem that I'm having with that is moving forward. I look at a team like the New York Giants, and granted, they haven't looked like world beaters, you know, in their first game versus the Dallas Cowboys, and they really haven't looked like much of anything during the preseason. But I look at a team like the like the New York Giants, and I tell myself, that's a team that put up 49 points on the Saints last season. And this was with Delvin Breaux, and Odell Beckham Jr. just basically was a hot knife, you know, going through butter when it came to him and with our defense. And now you have a healthy Victor Cruz and an emerging Sterling Shepard. I don't understand where the Saints are going to find the DBs that they need to keep up with that team, especially with your number one guy in Delvin Breaux being down. I love what I saw from P.J. Williams versus the Raiders. I really thought he played a phenomenal game for it being his very first time out there on the field. But I can't expect P.J. Williams, much like we couldn't expect Delvin Breaux last season, to just, within the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season, cover the other guy's best receiver and, try to lock him down.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I mean, as much as I like P.J., he's not ready to cover a Victor Cruz, let alone cover Odell Beckham Jr., But, I mean, there's still a positive with facing the New York Giants, and that's that if there is a defense of secondary who is as questionable as ours is and as big of a question mark period, is definitely the New York Giants. So we could have another shootout situation where maybe this time we come out on top, because now we've got two starters, and this week one just passed. 2 starters are now out for the Saints defense for a minimum of 6 weeks. And that's real tough to bear.
Oh, no question. The problem that I have with just the fact that we have to make that statement, it's in the idea that Delvin Breaux is one thing. I mean, he's your lockdown corner. He's pretty much your star of the future. And if P.J. Williams can emerge, him and Delvin Breaux could be a better 1-2 combo for the Saints than Jabari Grant, Tracy Porter were. The problem with you making that statement is not necessarily a problem with your statement. It's the idea that we have to say it. It's looking at the fact that if Sheldon Rankins was going to be that much of a difference maker, somebody drops the ball because the Saints are counting on a rookie first-round pick to come in and be your interior pass rush guy and basically make up for the fact that you don't have anyone opposite Cam Jordan. That's not necessarily comforting to me.
Well, I think they made an effort. I'll give the Saints credit for the effort. I was pretty happy with the Kruger pickup late. Edibali has shown that he can be an edge rusher, though not on the talent of Junior Gillette, though I think no matter the talent level, we're glad Gillette is out of New Orleans.
Absolutely.
But Sheldon Rankins is just that next level type of player, that we hope, and we don't need another, We've had several bad lucks with Cedric Ellis and other defensive tackles we've drafted. But Nick Fairley actually got the highest rating from Pro Football Focus on, just play all around. And he's going to fill it in a little bit, but Sheldon Rankins is going to mainly help get the double teams off Cam. I mean, Cam got no pressure because really nobody else on the line, with the exception probably being Fairley, is going to put much of a rush on the quarterback. And the Saints were playing almost prevent defense the entire game, coming out with, 2 linebackers at a time sometimes, lots of nickel, lots of dime, lots of zone coverage. And when they had guys like Breaux in, it was working. And then we had to put in some of those reserves. I told everybody beginning of the season, end of preseason, my biggest worry with this team was depth, that the starters on defense look very good on paper, but as soon as you take those starters away, it's nothing but shade going towards the end. And that's not meant to offend. That's just the truth. And right now, having 2 starters at 2 key positions that were supposed to bring back this defense to having 1 pressure and 2 coverage, both of those being gone now, and everybody else being at the moment suspect, including Jarris Byrd, who I know you're going to like to mention tonight, and P.J. Williams being basically a rookie, a redshirt freshman, if you will. I mean, what are you going to do?
Oh, no question. I mean, you're spot on with that one. The idea of it is basically what you were saying just now, is the idea that when you don't have Cam being able to come from outside pressure, especially with a guy like Sheldon Rankins being out, because he and Nick Fairley, as you just put massively, they were going to be that 1-2 punch inside, putting that double A-gap pressure. The one thing we all know about quarterbacks, none of them like to have pressure right up the gut. That was going to be what Nick Fairley and Sheldon Rankins did, together. And unfortunately, with Rankins being out, now that pressure falls on Nick Fairley to do it alone. Another problem that creates is now you have to shift Cam inside, which was I saw a lot take place during the game versus Oakland. Cam had to be shifted inside, which wasn't great for him as far as being an outside guy on a pass rush. Paul Kruger, for a guy that just came in, I had him graded out fairly well because, I mean, it was like the almost pressure. He got in the vicinity. He just couldn't get there all the way. And that's something you kind of have to expect you still learning the defense. Now, when it comes to the secondary, I can't say it any better than what you did. Losing Delvin Breaux hurt so much because that's when you have to put the onus on an undrafted rookie free agent like Ken Crowley, whom I couldn't understand why Dennis Allen didn't make a switch. It's obvious he was getting burnt on the outside. Maybe try switching him and Devontae Harris. And Harris, from what I've seen throughout the preseason, of course, was much better on the outside than I thought Ken Crowley was. Ken Crowley had the same problems coming out of Colorado. He was always in position. He just could never place hands on the ball.
I think my thing with Harris, and I'll go back to Cam and just say because I want to, put my 2 cents on something, although obviously he was moving inside. But I think with Harris is you just have a little bit more versatility. I mean, they put Harris, I think he was technically a pass rusher 3 or 4 plays. He had 60 snaps, so he almost played the entire game on defense and, didn't do great, but didn't do horrible either. And it's tough for me is, I do like, Crawley, but I can't really say he would have stepped up and done any better because I don't know if he's necessarily as versatile as Devontae Harris is. And in a Dennis Allen defense, it's kind of like Sean Payton on offense. You need versatility. And as far as what I was going to go back to Cam and say, I think a lot of moving Cam inside had to deal with the fact that the Saints were trying to play and take advantage of the fact that the interior of the Oakland Raider line kept getting hurt. They lost 2 guards during the game, so I think that they were hoping that Fairley and Cam could get to the pass rusher, well, the quarterback from inside by rushing, and it just didn't work, didn't pan out. I personally would have left Cam on the outside and hoped that Kruger and Edebali could have done on the other edge and forced Derek Carr to step up into the pocket and hopefully Fairley can snag him. But nothing was really working. We got basically no pass rush all game long. So no matter how much you slice it, whatever things you tried, none of it worked.
Oh, no question. I mean, it's exactly what you said. It's the same pressure with safeties, and they try to bring an extra backer every now and then. But as you said, Derek Carr is the real deal. I mean, for anybody that had their doubts, Derek Carr put it on full display. That kid pretty much, I kept hearing the announce team refer to him as like the next Drew Brees, and that he's watched Brees over the years and tried to study him. You can do a lot worse than studying Drew Brees, and you can see a lot of the movement with Derek Carr. The escapability. Of course, we know he's athletic enough to get out of the pocket. We know that. We saw him do it on the first down run in which he dove for the first down. But it's a guy that was just able to get away from the pressure just enough to create a little bit more time for one of his receivers to get open. And without any, pressure, I mean, he basically could order pizza back there, and nobody was really getting to him. I mean, it's kind of tough to guard in Amari Cooper and even a Crabtree, for that matter, as long as the DBs had to. And, of course, once Bro went out, that was an easy target going at Crowley the entire time because he just wasn't ready for that moment.
Well, I think one thing, and for me, Derek Carr was my favorite quarterback coming out of that draft class. And I think he's done the most coming out, personal opinion. Given the team that he has, he's had to help build this young Raiders team. And when I mean young, they're young. They're one of the like Justin Tuck, who helped train like the defense and everything. But he's toughed it out. And we're talking about a quarterback who throws over 30 touchdowns a year. And Derek Carr. There's not a lot of those, Drew Brees being one of them. There's not a lot of guys who are throwing over 60% of their passes for completion. Derek Carr is one of those. So I think the illusion, the comparisons to Drew Brees aren't inaccurate at all. And while he's not on Drew Brees' level now, I mean, there's a difference between, throwing 10 yards a pass average and 423 yards to 319, especially considering the defenses they were playing against. But, man, Carr is not this, young rookie quarterback who doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, that guy's got a team around him and a solid head on his shoulders. So I don't knock any Saints defenders for struggling against him. He's better than most of the starters who are, 10 years older than him in the NFL.
Oh, I mean, if I could say anything about the Oakland Raiders team and what Derek Carr has done, it's been that he hasn't exceeded any expectations of mine, because I knew this who Derek Carr was. I think the biggest, rap on Derek Carr was so many people comparing him to his brother, which, I mean, they're totally different quarterbacks. The only thing they share is the same last name. Derek Carr is not even a good quarterback. He's borderline great at this point. And Oakland has built, like you said, a nice young team around him. They fit well in the offseason. They really did. They tried to solidify their line. They tried to kind of stack up on defense to show off the cornerback position. So they've made a lot of moves that dictate that they'll be a team to be reckoned with in the future. And even with all of that being said, the Saints gave them that game. And so it's almost kind of, I'm trying not to praise the Oakland Raiders just too much, considering I truly believe the Saints gave away a game in which they should have won. And It's kind of hard for me right now, looking back and kind of reviewing the game, to just, look at it and say, you know what, I'm not going to blame it on the pass interference call, no matter how horrific it was. I'm not going to blame it on a rookie kicker missing 2 kicks. I'm going to blame it on the fact that the run defense allowed a 79-yard run, and that when the team had their chances to get off the field, they didn't. And it kind of bit them in the behind afterwards.
I say the biggest for me, and I've been harping on this for years. Anybody who's read my articles or listened to my podcast, I've said the same thing. And I've even said the same number. I said the Saints will not go to another Super Bowl, and they probably aren't going to make the playoffs if they don't run at least 420 times a year. That's their magic number. That's about what the average is for Super Bowl team winners. And I say that to say this. While we had trouble, like the 79 yarder,